Hey guys, have you ever wanted to do infinite damage? Well, what if I told you Nova has not one, but two ways in which he can do that? Two combos which are not gimmicky. I mean, they kind of are, but they're very viable, very reliable, and yeah, infinite damage is kind of a nice number, guys. I think this strategy is very, very strong, kind of game breaking, and it's not what I would normally talk about, but you guys wanted it, and thank you so much for showing that support. So let's get into it. Let's break the game. So, first of all, we need two cards that are already broken. Fantasy Flight Games already know this. They tried to errata them, but they are still broken in a whole new way they could never have even dreamed of. So, let's have a look at Miss Marvel and go for champions. Miss Marvel is a free cost ally. We don't really care about anything on her card though, except her hero response and her trait of being a champion. Hero response says after you play an event, exhaust her, deal 1 damage to her, then get to return that event to your hand. Now, with the champion trait, Go for Champions can make her immune to damage. So Go for Champion says each champion character in play cannot take damage until the end of the round. Now, Go for Champion says take damage, Ms. Marvel says deal damage. These effects used to be the same thing, but it was kind of also with the 1.5 rules reference where they officially said, actually, dealing damage and taking damage are separate things. Obviously, damage is dealt first, then it becomes taken damage. So even though Miss Marvel cannot take damage, you can absolutely still deal damage to her, which means this effect on her hero response works. You can fulfill that cost before the cost arrow. So yeah, with Miss Marvel in play and Go for Champions, using that hero response, we deal the damage, but she never takes it. So if you can keep readying her up, she can use that response as much as possible. And you guys might see where this is going. We have a card that readies her up and gives you a benefit and is 0 cost, and that is the pool aspect card, Get Ragey. So you have Miss Marvel in play, you make her immune to all damage with Go for Champions, and then you make her really angry. So let's say we've got Miss Marvel on the board, we have Get Ragey in our hand. What we will do is we'll exhaust Miss Marvel, heck, maybe one attack, pop a tough card or something on the villain. I don't know, doesn't really matter. And then we will use Get Ragey, which says ready an ally. So now Miss Marvel is readied and Get Ragey's in our discard pile. We can now use Miss Marvel's response after we finish playing the event to exhaust her and get Ragey back in our hand. Then we can use her, Get Ragey to ready her, and then we can use her to get Ragey back, and we can basically do this infinitely. And this doesn't change anything on the surface, but we need to read the rest of Get Ragey. The ally gets +1 attack until the end of the phase. If you can infinitely keep readying Miss Marvel with Get Ragey, she will infinitely build up that attack stat until eventually, you stop readying her, you leave Get Ragey in your discard pile, and you have, basically an infinite damage. You could do this 900 times, however much you like, and have her, Miss Marvel 900 attack, defeat the villain in one fell swoop. Now, villains have multiple stages, so in solo play, you cannot just win the game outright from this. But you can certainly defeat any villain's second stage if you get them to that point with this combo. Absolutely no problem. All you need to do is get Miss Marvel on the board, Go for Champions in hand, and Get Ragey in hand. And it is possible to have this happen turn 1 and pay for it all turn 1, and that is kind of ridiculous, although very rare. And again, turn 1, you probably haven't defeated the villain's first stage, so you cannot actually, win here. But you can certainly speed things up pretty significantly. It is in multiplayer where this gets crazy, but first of all, I want to thank a user called Dark Alatrion. So Dark Alatrion commented this combo on my Deadpool deep dive thread on Reddit a few months ago, and I was so surprised when I saw this. I was like, this can't be true, can it? And I said as much, and I looked it up, and actually it works. So I reached out to Dark Alatrion. They said, yeah, it was fine for me to use this. So yeah, full credit to them for this idea. I'm pretty sure they're the first person I've seen online to suggest this. If you guys know someone else that has, by all means, send some credit to them as well. But this is how I found out about it. So this is very cool, not my original idea, but this did give me another idea, both how to take this into multiplayer and make it even stronger, but also the second infinite damage combo I'm going to talk about that has already been in the game for over a year or so now, I think. So thank you so much for this, and let's get into the next step of this combo. And before I forget to mention it, don't forget to get Ragey on the subscribe button if you like this, if you'd like to see more and more of my usual analytical videos. So we've got this combo here, solo play in the pool aspect. We can basically do 1 infinite damage attack. Let's take this to 2-player with any old hero, even Valkyrie, and we can bring some leadership cards to let us ready allies. So we can now get Miss Marvel to 9,999 attack, if that's what you like, and we can attack with her. We can use Command Team or Get Ready or some other card to ready Miss Marvel, and then Miss Marvel can attack all over again. So you might want maybe Valkyrie to go first, get these things down on the board, and maybe pop a tough card. Then when Nova plays the Miss Marvel, go for champions, get a Ragey combo. After Miss Marvel eventually attacks once, you can command team her back up as an action on Nova's turn, and then you basically win. And it's that simple and very, very strong. Now, you do have to build up to all this combo. It is not as if, you're guaranteed to get it turn one, as I mentioned, but Miss Marvel and command team can just sit on the board. Then if you find Get Ragey or Go for Champions as Nova, you just keep one of them in your hand, whichever one you find first, and you keep playing the game normally, so does the other player, until you find the second one in your hand, and then you just play them and you win. So you can go for a very defensive strategy, just getting down these key pieces and waiting for the rest of the events to fall into place, and then you win. So I think this is extraordinarily strong because playing defensive isn't that hard. Just play a bunch of allies with good forwarding, block with them, keep the threat under control, wait until you just win the game. This is really good. But the idea I had based off this, which I haven't seen anywhere else, if someone has said this or made a video on this, let me know. Apologies. But for me, I had never heard of this, and I like to think I'm pretty in tune with the game. So hopefully you guys haven't heard of it either. And this is the other zero cost event, which readies an ally and adds to their attack. So similar strategy when we have Psychic Kicker. Psychic Kicker is only for Sonic characters, and you guys might be thinking, well, how do we use this with Miss Marvel? Well, we'll get to that in just a second. But effectively, just like Get Ragey, it's a zero cost ready for an ally. So we have Miss Marvel, we make her immune to damage, and then we just keep building up her attack with Psychic Kicker. Psychic Kicker is phrased a bit differently to Get Ragey. The ally gets +2 forwarding and +2 attack to the next attack or forward action for this phase. So what that means is, once we use them once with these massively inflated stats, they lose that stat bonus, which means we have to be a little bit careful about trying to figure out how to get this twice to defeat both villain stages, but nonetheless, it is very possible. So, Miss Marvel, go for champions, keep exhausting her to bring Psychic Kicker back, and eventually she will be able to destroy any villain in one go, even in 4-player. And we're going to talk about 4-player a little bit soon. I'm going to take it to its most extreme example, although this is still very potent in 2-player. So how do we get around that Sonic trait problem? Well, we need a Sonic character like Psylocke, Phoenix, Cable, even Rogue can technically do this. So Psylocke just has to make the call on Miss Marvel when Miss Marvel is in Nova's discard pile to get her in play, and then you are good to go. Then Psylocke can use Psychic Kicker, trigger Miss Marvel's hero response, and the combo begins. You will of course need perhaps Nova or another champions character if you in a larger multiplayer game to play Go for Champions. But bringing in more champions can make that more likely to be in your hand at the right time, someone's hand at least. And yeah, you can get this going very well. You just need to get those key pieces, wait for those key events, and then you win. Now, an interesting strategy here might be to keep Miss Marvel at like 1 hit point on the Nova player's board, just so if Psylocke gets Psychic Kicker before you find Get Ragey, you can, get Miss Marvel defeated easily by using her, and then Psylocke is free to make the call for them and win the game. And while I think this is consistent, 4-player takes us to a whole nother level. And if we take it to 4-player, I'm going to also assume everyone here has their own collection of cards. This will not always be the case, and you can definitely still do, 3 or 4-player combos with this, from one collection. So let's talk about what we can potentially do here to fully and utterly break the game and make wins on turn 1, 2, 3, very, very likely against anyone. Heroic mode, expert 2. We can do some disgusting things here. What we need is Nova, Cable, Psylocke, and Rogue, and maybe there's a better way to optimize this, but this is what I have been, working on. So Nova, of course, brings the Miss Marvel ally, and of course go for champions, and get Ragey, why not? And then let's combine it with Psychic Kicker on one or more of these characters. So with Nova, I've already talked a bit about the cards he wants, but you can also build in card draw to make sure he can find Get Ragey and go for champions even sooner. Assess the situation, Ironheart, and there's a few more basic cards which are really good at drawing your cards. Nick Fury is the obvious one. There's a lot of ways you can do it, and yeah, the sooner you get these key cards, the sooner you can perhaps win the game in that one, huge attack or 2 huge attacks, and it's kind of crazy. So Nova pretty straightforward here, but then we have Cable. Why is Cable here? Well, although he can get Sonic, as we sort of mentioned, we can get Call for Backup with his setup ability from Alter Ego on turn 1. What Call for Backup does is it brings in an ally from the discard pile or deck. What this means is, since Cable can get Call for Backup on the board guaranteed to turn 1, means we can get Miss Marvel on the board guaranteed turn 1. So Call for Backup is going to bring in Miss Marvel, but every player gets an ally. So he can get Maria Hill, that draws everyone a card. All those other characters are then more likely to get the key events they need to win the game. And you can then recur her with things like Rapid Response to keep that going, to keep helping people until everyone has what they need. You can play Command Team to help out as well, even build support to get other people their command teams, things like that. So Cable really helps set this up. Miss Marvel turn 1, and then just helps out alongside that. He probably just wants to play allies and do forwarding otherwise, just to keep the game afloat until the insta-win infinite damage combo is online. And then we're going to talk about Psylocke, who is, of course, our Psychic here for Psychic Kicker. You know, I think we really just talked about that. Make the call to get Miss Marvel, Psychic Kicker to make her an infinite damage monster. And then we've got card draw with things like Nick Fury, and then we can, recur him as well to get even more cards in our hand to try and find Psychic Kicker and make the call within one hand. And Nick Fury is probably going to be, her target from Call for Backup, that kind of thing. Really, really strong. And then we have Rogue, who is kind of a mix of Nova and Psylocke here. Rogue can put Go for Champions and Psychic Kicker in her deck, and by putting Touched on the right ally or hero, she can get the right trait to play either of them. So if Psylocke has, say, Make the Call and Psychic Kicker, she can maybe play Go for Champions instead of Nova if she's found it first to help Psylocke, do the combo. And if not, maybe Nova can play Go for Champions, and maybe Rogue has Psychic Kicker and Make the Call and then gets the Miss Marvel thing going on her board. And with Superpower Adaptation, there are ways to make this easier. We have Psychic allies in, Leadership and Basic to help you find different cards and enable different traits. So some very cool stuff here. Again, a bit like Nick Fury or Maria Hill, we can include an ally here for Call for Backup for her to help try and find these combo pieces more quickly. Kalu is a character that lets you draw a card, but you don't just draw a card. You search the top 5 cards for the card you want to draw. So you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck, try and find the missing key card you want, and then draw it to hand. And recurring him keeps letting you search through a new set of 5 cards, which can help you really find the key cards very, very quickly. And put these all together, and you basically win. So Cable puts that Call for Backup. That gets Miss Marvel turn 1. Nova and Rogue are then hunting Go for Champions to make Miss Marvel immune to damage. Nova is hunting Get Ragey. Psylocke and Rogue are hunting down Psychic Kicker. One character at least, maybe a couple, want to get command teams out to help ready up Miss Marvel. And you are honestly good to go here. So with the Psychic Kicker, because Miss Marvel's stats are only boosted for 1 activation, you're going to need command teams, basically to do the final ready, get the damage, and that way you still have a Psychic Kicker in hand. But yeah, this combo is devastating. So yeah, kind of a crazy one here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Hopefully this was easy enough to follow. I went through a lot of cards and combos, but the key piece is really, it's Nova, it's Miss Marvel, it's Go for Champions. Then it's one of these cards which readies an ally for a 0 cost and gives them a stat boost. And you keep going until you win. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoy the pool aspect. Can't wait to talk about the new heroes. That'll be up next. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.